You're listening to The Safety and the Sportswriter on Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good evening, everybody. We are back on the 21st of June. My God, June is flying by as we get ready to talk to you about the world of sports tonight. We have a lot to go over, a little golf maybe. We got a lot of NBA to get to tonight. And we have a special guest, Chris Lofton, who was a star at Tennessee, one of the best players ever come through there. SEC Player of the Year in 2007. He'll be joining us at the bottom of the hour. We'll be talking a lot of basketball with him. So it is a round ball night for me and my partner here, Nate, and we have a lot to get to. Nate, as we were talking off screen before we came on, you had a good Father's Day yesterday, and now we're back to work.
Yes, sir. It was a beautiful day here in luxurious Knoxville, Tennessee. Got to hang out with my daughter, Olivia, and got to hang out with my dad. So, can't really complain. That's what Father's Day is all about. And, life is ups and downs, but through it all, I'm a pretty lucky guy. I've got a great dad and I've got a great daughter. So I've got to enjoy a wonderful Father's Day with both of them.
I got to throw Mom in there too.
Yeah, well, we celebrated Mom's Day a couple weeks ago, so she got her fill, but she makes it all happen. She made Father's Day happen. She booked the reservations. She brought the snacks. She made everybody happy like she always does. It's always Mom's Day, even when it's Father's Day.
Right.
And we all know that. And I'm sure she's watching right now. So happy Mother's Day, which is every day, Mom. Thank you for all you do.
All right, so we got a lot to get to. We'll start with last night's action. We talked a little bit before coming on the air, of course. The big news is the 76ers go home. The Atlanta Hawks continue their surprising run. Nate McMillan, the man nobody wanted as a coach, seems to be pushing the right buttons. A deep team in Atlanta no one was talking about. No, everybody thought this team was going out to the Knicks, going out to the Sixers. Now they're in the Eastern Conference Finals. The team no one expected, Atlanta Hawks, they're there, while the Sixers, the favorites, are in disarray, and now they have to come up with reasons why, even though they brought in a world-class coach in Doc Rivers, who's going to get a lot of blame for this, and their superstar showed up, they didn't get things done. And we got to start with Ben Simmons, who right now is like everybody's favorite, even me, taking pot shots at him. I'll let you start out with what you think about Ben Simmons, and we'll go on from there.
No, I mean, I wasn't sticking up for him. I mean, he's a grown-ass man. He signed a big contract. He makes a lot of money. So I wasn't sticking up for him. 36 minutes, 2-4 from the field, 5 points. That's not getting it done on the offensive side. I mean, that's really not. And I know he's the point guard, and he did have 13 assists. So he did his job distributing the basketball. But there were obvious times where he had open shots, and didn't take them. And I think a lot of that stemmed from the fact that he struggled so mightily from the free throw line, shooting around 30%. In this series. I mean, that's ridiculous. Someone who plays basketball for a living, who can't make, more than 3 out of 10 free throws in a playoff series. I mean, that's beyond ridiculous. So I'm not going to stick up for him there. But, to give him a little bit of credit, he held Trae Young to 5 for 23 from the floor, 2 of 11 from 3-point land. Let's be honest, he played some pretty good defense, and he is a very good on the ball and off the ball defender. I'll give him credit on that. But he's got to do better. He needs. There was plenty of times where, especially during that 26-point lead debacle where they lost a 26-point lead and let the Hawks come back. That was just inexcusable, and you do have to give him some of the blame because he couldn't make a shot and couldn't hit shots down the stretch. That allowed the defense to focus on Embiid and Tobias Harris and, really kind of leave him open because they didn't want to give him the ball because a lot of times when he did get the ball, they just fouled him because they knew he couldn't hit a foul shot. So, yeah, I don't know where the Sixers go from here. I really don't believe that, I mean, Doc's got to take some of the blame, but I don't think that you get rid of Doc. I mean, that was his first year there. I thought he did a tremendous job all season long. And he took them to Game 7. I mean, they wanted to get by round 2 for sure, but I think they need to take a long, hard look at this roster and make some changes.
Well, and to stick with the Simmons thing and the Doc thing, first of all, I know Doc can take a lot of the blame because outside of that 1 year, now everybody is rewriting his coaching. Outside of the year he won with the Celtics, now he's been in a failure every year in the NBA playoffs. Doesn't talk about the time that he turned around the Clippers, had to deal with the racial issues out there first when he got out there and be the leader of a team who suddenly didn't have an owner. Also made them into a perennial playoff team when they never had been. And now the reputation of Doc is, he fails in the playoffs. Okay, we can rewrite that. That's ridiculous. The thing that gets me in looking at Ben Simmons, and I'm more of a hockey guy than a basketball guy at this level. I pay attention more to the college game than I do the pro game. I was looking about Ben Simmons, and this is one of those things where when you look at the problems he displayed in the playoffs when they were there to be seen when he was at LSU. First of all, his 1 year there, he took 3 3-point shots the whole year. In 33 games, he took 3 3-point shots. You can't have a point guard that's only going to take 3 3-point shots the whole year. Number 2, he shot only 60% from the free throw line. That's abominable for anybody, but especially a point guard who's going to be handling the ball, 70% of the time for you? Especially in the fourth quarter in crunch time, and he can't shoot a free throw. And then on top of it all, it's like he only shot like 12 shots a game, which says to me that's great for a point guard who's not supposed to be a scoring point guard. It's great for Tommy Amaker, somebody like that. But for someone that's supposed to be a slasher, a scorer, and a distributor to only take 12 shots a game shows me he doesn't trust his own shot. And then listening to the experts today, including Magic Johnson, who was on a bunch of the national shows, is they're not even dancing around the idea. They're coming right out and saying this guy in the offseason does not go to the gym, does not work on what's wrong with his game, and refuses to work on it. And he's making $20 million a year. So, in a way, I think it takes the onus off of Doc because they were that good with this guy as their point guard and one of their mainstays all year long.
Yeah, no, I thought he did a really good job coaching this team all year. I mean, they led the Eastern Conference pretty much all year long, and I think Doc needs to get a lot of the credit for that. What went wrong in the playoffs? Well, they went up against a really solid Hawks team that's hot. And they're playing good basketball as a team. I mean, even on a night when Trae Young goes 5 of 23 from the floor, they win. And I think that tells you, A, that the coach is doing a great job, and B, that the team is playing really, really well when they can overcome that and get to a victory. The only thing that bothers me about the whole Ben Simmons talk is this isn't the first time that, he hasn't been the leading scorer. As you alluded to in your 2 cents there, he wasn't a real big scorer in college. Even when he was the first round pick, he was drafted because of his ability to distribute the basketball and the things he could do, running the offense, being as big as he was. That's what, kind of separated him from the rest of the pack in that draft class and led to him being selected number 1. It wasn't because he dropped 30 points a game at LSU. This guy was not Chris Jackson in college.
No.
Trust me. I sat and watched Chris Jackson play, and that guy could light it up from anywhere. And Ben Simmons was nowhere near that. So I'm kind of confused as to why everybody thought he would be some tremendous scorer in the league, because he never showed any flashes of that. But at the same time, you still could, lay off the Kardashians one night and maybe go shoot some free throws after practice instead of trying to get on the back page of the post for who you went out with that night. The guy does seem to be a little bit more concerned with what chick he's dating than how many shots he can put down. So, I can't really, Magic Johnson knows more about basketball than I do. So if he's going to criticize Ben Simmons' work ethic, I can't really go against that. But, I didn't really expect Ben Simmons to be dropping 40 on the Hawks because that's really not who he is or not what his game is.
Yeah, but the thing is, when he refuses to take the shot, when he only has 2 shots in a game 6 and a game 7 in the fourth quarter, I don't care if you're known for your distributing. I mean, if you're one of these guys that Mark Jack, name a point guard. If he's wide open, he's got to be able to take that shot. He's got to take the shot. It's just a matter of you can't give it up, and then all of a sudden your defender has a free time double teaming and helping out all over the floor because they know you're not going to shoot it.
No, that's definitely true. I mean, there was a guy took 4 shots the whole game, and there were times like the sequence that Joel Embiid alluded to in his post-game press conference. There were times where he had wide open layups and wouldn't take them because he thought somebody was going to hack him and he was going to have to shoot free throws, and that's a big problem. But my question would be, why do you have him in the game at the end if you know that he's not going to shoot and he can't shoot free throws? And that's where I come back to say, I'm not sure Doc, I'm not sure that's really Doc's doing. I mean, if they're paying him $20 million, you got to have him on the court. But Doc didn't draft this guy. And Doc really hasn't been there for this, Ben Simmons' whole development. I'm sure he saw these problems, but what's he going to do? Take him out and leave the guy making $20 million on the bench in crunch time? Not really something you can do.
No, it isn't. And, it goes back to when you're looking at it, thinking, man, they should have maybe hung on to Jimmy Butler and let Ben Simmons walk. I mean, at least, Jimmy Butler would have taken the shots.
Yeah, Jimmy Buckets doesn't have any problem hoisting it up. And, I never really understood why they had no interest in keeping Jimmy in town. And, we saw what that led to. He took the Miami Heat all the way to the finals. I know this year didn't work out as they had hoped, but it certainly wasn't Jimmy B's fault.
Yeah, then we had the Western Finals starting with Devin Booker putting on the show. Nice. Now, here's a guy who, in his first time of being in a starring role, is ready for it. I mean, we saw what he did in the bubble last year. It's continued out this year. He's a perfect teammate, it seems. I mean, you don't hear a lot about him, but when you think Chris Paul's down, who's going to pick up the slack? He did it in more with last night with a triple-double. Devin Booker's showing that he might be the new star. He might be the guy that is our next bridge to to whoever's going to be the next star.
Yeah, I mean, it's very, very possible. There's a lot of talk today, from your boy Stephen A. Smith and company about how he's the next Kobe. You know what? I don't really see a ton of Kobe's game in him, but he's kind of a unique player. I mean, he's got the ability to shoot from anywhere. He's got the mid-range game. The guy could light it up from 3. But I really, give him credit for his performance in this game because he had to pick up some of the slack distributing the ball with Chris Paul not there, and Cameron Payne running the point. He had to pick up some of the distribution efforts, and he did that. He had 11 assists, 40 points, 11 assists, and 13 rebounds. That's a pretty good showing for your first ever game in the Western Conference Finals. And people forget this is the first playoffs that Devin Booker has ever been involved in. And I would say they've gone pretty well. The guy's dropped 40 points several times. And this kind of goes back to what I was talking about last show. The Suns have been the best team since these playoffs began. They are in my opinion, number 1 team from top to bottom. And one of the reasons is because they've got one of the best players, if not the best player, in Devin Booker, as well as who I thought could have possibly been the MVP in Chris Paul. You put those two guys together, and that's a formidable combination.
And he also talked about one thing they talked about with the way the Suns did their season this year, not a lot of load management. They said most of the guys played every game, if not every one of their players played every game. So a lot of it they're talking about is the continuity that they built during the season that's been continuing on through the playoffs. That having that the time on the court together, you get to know where your guys are. You get to know what they like to do, and it's showing right now because they're prepared. And you hate to sound like it's old time versus new time, but that's what paid the dividends years ago was these guys played, 75, 82 games, and they were ready to run, but at the playoff time, and they knew everything. But then again, you have the injuries you got to worry about, and we've seen injuries creep into these playoffs more than any other playoffs. I think in it's at least stars going down in recent history. But I'm really impressed with what the coach has done out there with the Suns. But I wouldn't say the Clippers are over with yet. They can't just rest on their laurels now. The Suns got to keep the foot on the pedal and see if they can finish them off.
Yeah, it's not like Monty Williams hasn't gotten any credit. I mean, he did win the NBA Coach of the Year, and rightfully so. I mean, they've been playing good basketball all year long, like you mentioned, and because they had that continuity all year long, it wasn't a stretch for them to continue that play on in the playoffs. And you could tell against the Lakers, there was a difference between those two teams. One of those teams was missing their stars almost all year, and the other team had everybody all year long. And that was very evident. So we'll see what happens, man. The Clippers are going to get Kawhi Leonard back. That's going to be very helpful for them because, this guy is their leader. And I know Paul George had a pretty good game in Game 7, but Kawhi Leonard is the guy they lean on. And with him being out, that was a big blow to the Clippers.
Did they announce Kawhi's coming back?
They're not sure yet. I believe he should be ready, but it's still up in the air. I mean, there's no definitive he's playing next game or anything like that I've seen.
And Chris Paul, any word on that today? Did we hear anything?
No, they haven't said anything about Chris Paul either. I mean, he has not been cleared to play, so. I'm very interested to hear because both those things are gonna be very important as to how this series goes.
That's for sure. And then we go back to Saturday night. The Nets, the team that seemed to be the team of destiny, goes down. It was a great game. I watched it from beginning to end. The two superstars did their jobs. You can't question Giannis or KD. Both of them were out there. But there were some question marks in the game, and you saw how much the Nets missed Kyrie, especially with Harden on one leg. And, there's no way you can't say that having those two healthy wouldn't have made a huge difference. And, Chris Middleton struggled a little bit, but came through. And as you said, Holiday came through in the overtime. The guy who's taking a lot of bad press up here right now is Joe Harris. And he had a bad game. I'm not going to defend Joe Harris, but I mean, there is a reason why the Nets at the beginning of the season traded Karis LeVert in that big 3-team trade to get James Harden, is because you knew Joe Harris was not the guy you could depend on in this kind of a game. He's a great secondary, tertiary player with limited skills. I mean, he's a 3-point shooter, and if he's dropping his 3-pointers, that's great. But the fact of the matter is,
he is a 3-point shooter, but he wasn't knocking them down. And I have to admit something here. When the Bucks gave the lead up and lost the 4-point lead at the end of the game, I gave up. I thought it was over. I thought that they were going to blow it in the overtime, and I've been critical of the Bucks coach, and I got to still be critical. I mean, I can't believe they called a timeout, stood over there for an entire commercial break. Now, they didn't have the cameras and the mics over there, so I'm not sure what he said, but I doubt that he said, throw it into Robin Lopez in the corner where he's going to get triple teamed, and then, Robin, you chuck it out towards half court, and we'll let the clock expire. And that'll be our play with 2 seconds left. I mean, I get it.
I couldn't believe that. I really couldn't believe it. I mean, throw it up in whoever gets the ball, just throw it up in the air.
Well, three plays down before that, down the court, they had an out of bounds play and they chucked it up, and Giannis caught it in the air and jammed it over two people. And I'm like, why didn't they run that play? So
because they'd seen it before.
Yeah,
it would be too easy.
Yeah, but they knew that play was coming then, and they weren't able to stop it. So, I was like, why don't they run that now? And, I don't know. I just, that sequence of events where they gave up, Kevin Durant finally missed it. They couldn't get the rebound. And then they gave up, an entire possession without getting the shot off. It was a little bit hard to swallow.
What did you think? Did you think it was a little bit much having KD play out the whole game? Should we have gotten him some kind of a rest at some point?
I would say so, but you look at it and he had 48 points. He's 17 of 36 from the floor. I guess you could have taken him out, but the dude had 48 points. I think you had to have him out there, but it looks like we got Chris with us. I'm going to go ahead and
go ahead and bring him on.
Bring him on. There he is. Hey, Chris, can you hear us?
Yes, sir.
Hey, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. How y'all doing today?
Good. How you doing?
Doing good. We just want to let our listeners know we got Chris Lofton with us, 2007 SEC Player of the Year. If you look behind me here, one of my favorite players of all time, represented in my office/studio. And just want to thank you for coming on, Chris. How you been?
I'm good, man. Appreciate y'all having me. Looking forward to it. Sorry it took me so long to reply back. I never check my messages on there. So I'm glad it finally worked out.
What do you mean, man? You're just playing basketball for a living. You don't have time to check your Twitter feed every day and check every message that every idiot like me sends you? No, man, it's all good. I'm glad you got back to me, and I enjoyed talking to you, and I'm glad you're with us. Tell us what's been going on. I know you've been playing in Korea, correct?
Yes, sir. I played in Korea, so 2019 was my last stop. 2020, the COVID kind of ruined it for me, and this year I haven't played at all. So I'm gonna play in a TBT tournament coming up next month with some of my old Tennessee teammates, and then really I'm just trying to figure out what I'm going to do. I would like to keep playing, but who knows? I might get into coaching. Just waiting on God to help me figure it out.
What's the experience like playing over in Korea and around the world? What is the love for the game over there? The excitement in the fans like it is over here? What's the experience like over there?
Absolutely. I mean, soccer's number one, of course, in Europe. That's where I've played most of my career, Europe. South Korea was the first time I've been in Asia. But, Turkey, Spain, Russia, France, Lithuania, those are my European places I've played, and, they all love basketball. Soccer's number one over there, but basketball is right behind it at number two, and the fans are passionate. They love their basketball. They really care.
Yeah, talk to us a little bit, Chris, if you can, about 2016. Obviously, you had a banner year, won the MVP, and then I believe you guys won the championship, and you won the finals MVP. So talk to us a little bit about that and what that was like for you.
Yeah, 2016, my team won the French Cup, and I was named MVP. And it was a great moment. It was special. That was my first time winning the championship overseas. So, it's still, one of my favorite memories. And then, so that's 2018. So 2018, we won the French League championship, and that was a special moment. And, that's probably my favorite moment as a pro right there, what you're watching now.
Yeah.
Just be able to win that championship and win each series, and just the odds we had to overcome, and because we were picked to lose in each round, so to win and get that championship in 2018 was probably the best moment of my professional career.
With the fact there's so many American players playing in Europe now and around the world, do you see, you bring our style of play over there, and the plays even out? I know at some point, when it first started, the Europeans coming over here and our players going over to Europe, that there was two kind of distinct styles. Is it now more of the same style on both sides of the sea?
I don't think so. So in Europe, it's a lot of team basketball. A lot of team, a lot of passing and just moving the ball around. In the NBA, it's a lot of it has some team, but most of the time, if you have that superstar, you give it to him and get out the way. In Europe, it's more of a team game, and you play as a team, and it's more geared towards college. I feel like.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And talk to us a little bit about, you've obviously played in Turkey, you played in France, you played in Lithuania. Talk to us a little bit about what it was like, moving around like that. I mean, I got to imagine, being able to keep a high level of play going had to be difficult with all the jet setting around the world like that, huh?
Yeah, my first few years was tough, just being away from home like that, and just being away from family and friends. That took that long period of time, and you had to get adjusted to the new basketball. How I was a kid basically, and I was playing against pros now, older guys, stronger guys. So it took me a few years to get adapted to it, and after that third or fourth year, I was considered a veteran, so it was no problem for me. I was used to everything. I knew what to expect. I prepared my body in the summertime for it, so I was ready for it.
How long is the season over there? How long is the average season over there in whatever leagues you played in? 60 games, 50 games, 80 games?
So it depends. It all depends on like what country you're in and what league, what team you're on. So my first year I was there like 9 months, and I played maybe 40 games. But then and we were playing one game a week, which was awful. But then when I got to other teams, we started playing 2 games a week. So I would say more like 50, 55, 60 games maybe.
Mm-hmm.
It just depends on your team and what country you're in.
That's crazy. It has to be difficult, dealing with all the different rules and different leagues and all that kind of stuff. I can't even imagine. But take us back a little bit to the college days. Obviously now the game has changed so much. You've got these perennial one and doners, which, there was a little bit of that back when you played, but, now a lot of these teams, they're built on these kids that are there for 1 year. And then with the new transfer rules, there's being a Tennessee fan, just to give you a little background, I've had tickets over at Thompson Bowling since they built that place. And I love Tennessee basketball, and I really loved it because we always had, guys came back. We had the same guys this year and next year. And, I grew a bond, with you and your team. And then, Admiral and Grant, guys were there for a couple of years. And now with the way that the NCAA is and with the new rule changes, a lot of teams have a completely different makeup each year. And I just want to know what your thoughts are on the changes that have gone down in college basketball, and what do you think? What do you think it'll do to the game?
Oh yeah, the transfer rule has been absolute madness. Everybody's transferring now, and it's just like I understand if there's certain situations where you can transfer, but at the same time, I'm the type of like when adversity hits, I want to see what you're made of. I want you to stick it out and fight through it. Now we've given them a chance to just, if a coach yells at me, I can transfer and be eligible right away. Which I understand some cases people may transfer, coach leave, etc. But I'd like to see them stick it out and fight through it, because then adversity is going to hit at all times, even when you get older. And I think it's just a way of making it easy to get out instead of fighting through it, and finding a way to get over it and make it happen yourself. And with the one and done rule, I feel like that's a waste of time. I feel like these kids, if they're good enough, they want to, they can go right out of high school. Just like baseball. I feel like they should be able to do that.
I agree. I agree 100%, Chris. I've been saying it on this show since we started the show. If somebody's good enough that a team wants to draft them, they should be allowed to go and make their living playing basketball. And, and they do that in baseball. You can go right out of high school and play. But if these kids, decide not to go in the Major League Baseball draft and they make a commitment to college team, I believe in college baseball, you have to stay there for 3 years.
Yeah, 3 years, yeah.
Yeah, and I kind of would like that. I don't know what your thoughts are, Joe.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, what I brought up, and Chris, before you came on the air with us, we were talking about Ben Simmons and how he's taken a lot of a beating today about the loss for the Sixers last night. And I said, well, I went back to his college days. He played after you in the SEC, but you could see the symptoms of what happened to him in the playoffs, the fact that he couldn't hit free throws in college. He only took 3 3-pointers his whole 1 year at LSU, 3. And as a point guard, to not want to, take your shot when it's open, to not be able to hit the free throws when you have the chance, and especially in today's game where the 3-pointer is so important, this guy came out with holes in his game, and he probably should have stayed an extra year or two to work on this stuff. I know the money is – no one would turn down the money, but now it's like you're looking at it going, wow, you had a lot of holes in your game coming out. I don't know. What did were you watching Ben Simmons last night? What did you think of what went on?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because, like you said, his team's out there playing 4 versus 5 because the defense don't respect him. They don't guard him. So it makes it tough. And he's, supposed to be there. He makes $180 million. So they expect more than 5 points out of him. They expect him to, score some points and, because he does everything else great. Defense, pass, rebound, like he does everything else extremely well. And that's the only thing he's missing is being a threat from the outside and being able to shoot. So, I hope that, he gets in the gym and just works on the shot all summer long.
Yeah, that's what it takes. And I think that's one of the reasons that Magic was a little critical of him. I think he felt like, maybe he didn't put the work in. And that's something that we know about you, Chris, from watching you shoot. There's been some hours in the gym behind those 3-pointers that have gone up. And talk to us a little bit about this tournament you guys got going on with the Volunteers. And, I know you said you hadn't played in a while, but have you guys gotten a chance to practice? When does this start? Give us a little info on that.
What's called the TBT, the basketball tournament, and the winning team gets $1 million. And we, a lot of my old teammates and me are getting back together and going to start practicing here probably within the next 2 weeks. And start practicing and getting ready. And we play July 23rd in Columbus, Ohio. It just came out today, the brackets and the seedings and all that. So it's going to be fun. We're very interested. We got a tough bracket, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I've watched it before, and I think the Marquette team won the last time year. I watched. Was that last year?
Yeah, last year they won.
I watched those guys play, and they had it pretty good together. And then after I graduated high school, I lived up in Ohio, so I'm pretty familiar with the Buckeyes, and they had a team that played pretty well. For I think the last 2 years. So
yeah, 2 years ago they won it.
Did they? Okay, yeah, that's what I'm thinking about. So I enjoyed watching that. I think it should be pretty fun to see.
Chris, you come from the SEC, which is a reputation as the football conference first. That's what everybody talks about, but it still is a great basketball conference. And back to when you were winning the Player of the Year award, you had to go up against a Florida team that was pretty damn good, huh?
Oh yeah, they were back-to-back national champions. They were beyond good. They were great.
Well, I mean, it speaks for your game when you went into Player of the Year over Horford and Noah. I mean, you did your work. You made them take the back seat to you, which says a lot for what you did for the Vols. So, talk about playing the SEC game back then. You guys played, like we talked about the one and done. those guys actually stuck around like you did, you know. So talk about the rivalries, you know, the fact that, you know, you play. I don't think if you're there for 1 year, you get the rivalries that you got. I mean, you must have loved going up against those guys 2 and 3 times a year.
For sure. You know, Florida was a great team. And we always had battles with them. And I think, like, I'm trying to think, Florida didn't beat me too many times.
No.
Not too many times. But like, we knew how great they were, though, with, you know, and like we just talked about, they all stayed, 3 years, and it showed how they were, you know, built team chemistry. They knew each other. They played together so long, and they were just hard to beat. They just had Al Horford and Joakim Noah on the inside, Corey Brewer on the perimeter, Torian Green and Lee Humphrey, and they played the right way, and, you know, that's why they won the national championship. I also had Coach Billy Donovan coaching, who's, you know, a great coach in the NBA right now, and they were special. But, you know, playing in the SEC was great. It was tough every night, you know, 2 games a week, and you better bring it every night, especially on the road, because teams were, you know, it didn't matter if they were last or in the middle, they were going to bring their A games, and you had to be ready to play at all times.
Yeah, and that that shot we just watched right there was you hitting that big shot over Kevin Durant. Talk to me a little bit about KD. I know I don't know how much you got to watch that series with the Bucks, but you know, I've been critical of KD, but he's pretty dang good, and he stepped up big. Talk to me a little bit about you know, your thoughts on him.
Yeah, I mean, he's, you know, probably the best scorer in the world easily but right now, and he showed it these whole playoffs. He came up short, was it yesterday or Saturday? But, you know, he let the world know that he's back from his injury, and he's ready, competing for the best player in the world status. And, you know, he's always been a special player, and he's tough to deal with. So I feel sorry for the opponents. You know, especially I was watching PJ Tucker, because he was playing such great defense on him the whole tournament. I mean, the whole playoffs, and KD would still make the shot. You know, it just shows you how great KD is at 6'10", 6'11", being able to shoot over people and handle like he does.
Yeah.
You know, when you talk about being influenced, I mean, you influenced players when you watched you at University of Tennessee and now all over the world. Who was somebody you admired growing up? Who did you pattern your game after? Who was some guys that you admired in the NBA?
I mean, I always loved Kobe. I loved Gilbert Arenas, Allen Iverson. You know, those are probably my 3 favorites growing up. Besides I don't count Michael Jordan because he's different, you know. But Michael Jordan, of course. But those 3 probably were my favorites growing up, I would say.
Hey, Chris, I know you guys have a alumni game coming up too. Give our listeners a little bit of information on that, because I'm pretty sure you said you were going to be doing that as well.
Well, I said I was going to try. So I'm actually at a wedding that same day. So
Okay.
it's going to be tough for me to get there. I'm going to try to get there afterward later that night, and hopefully I'll catch a little bit of it. But it's going to be a special event. You know, all the old players is coming back. It's going to be a great weekend to see everybody. So I'm gonna make sure I'm there. But I don't know if I'm playing in the game, but I'll be there at some point, I would say, later that night in Knoxville.
Nice. And, you know, obviously, you know, Coach Barnes has done a pretty good job. But, you know, when you were here, you know, you had Coach Pearl and we're on some fantastic teams that Coach Pearl put together. You stay in touch with Coach Pearl, and what was he like as your coach?
Coach was a great coach. He really knows the game and knows how to approach the game, and he brought that winning mentality to us. You know, he instilled it in us the day one when he got the job, because, you know, my freshman year we had a down year, and he came in and instilled that winning mentality, and, you know, I think that's why we were so successful, because our leader worked hard, and, you know, he watched film, he did the things that, you know, make you great. And, you know, he taught us about putting extra time in, the work, and, you know, that always usually, you know, leads to success. But I talked to Bruce. It's been a while since I last talked to him. When they played Kentucky this past year, I actually went to the game. He left me some tickets here in Lexington, so I went to the game and got to talk to him the night before the game.
Nice.
And you got to say, no one could rock an orange jacket like him. I mean, that's tough. That's tough to make an orange jacket look good on a man. So, Chris, when I don't know if you were listening or paying attention today, but the Supreme Court came down and ruled that athletes should be getting compensated. Wanted to just get your opinion on that a little bit. How you feel? You've been through the ringer. You had to give up a lot to be a successful NCAA player. What did you think when you heard about that?
I mean, I like it actually. The university makes millions of dollars off the players, and so for the players to get a little bit out of it, I feel like that's the least they can do. Because when you're a college athlete, you miss a lot of stuff. You got practice in the mornings, and you got class, and you got practice in afternoons, and you got study hours. So it's like a job doing all that, and you can't really live the the college life the other students get to live. So I feel like that was a great thing to do.
Do you think there's a danger though? The only thing I worry is you see the halves, like in football, Alabama, Clemson stockpile talent. I mean, in basketball, Kentucky seems to get 8 of the best 9 players in the country. Now, if we throw cash into it, I mean, and take kind of, who knows what goes on behind closed doors in some of these universities. But if they can come right out and start a bidding war, that's the only thing I worry about. Do you see any danger of that kind of stuff?
I mean, I feel like there's danger in anything we do. It's just, I think that's part of life. It's a risk, of course, but I feel like just try it out and see. I'm not saying it's going to be forever. Just try it out and see how it goes, like a little trial and error, and see how people react and act to it, and go from there.
No, I agree with you. I think the money's there. And, a lot of times, the people that are against this, they say, where's the money going to come from? Well, these coaches are getting $8-10 million a year. You could take a little cash out of their pockets. And, I played small college. I played at a Division III school. But even doing that, I realized how much work that you guys put in. And, everybody's like, well, they get their school paid for it. Well, a lot of people get scholarships, but they don't bring in, $50 million a year to the university. So I feel like that the players should get paid, and it's something that these kids, deserve.
As long as they can keep it equitable, as long as they can keep it fair across the board, where every team has, like I said, I hate to see it, to not use a bad analogy, but I hate to see a team become the New York Yankees of the NCAA and just outbid everybody for the great players.
Hey, Chris, tell them Kentucky gets a bunch of 5 stars every year, and we still beat them. So forget it, man. Nothing. Life ain't fair, Joe. Just to break it to you. But
yeah, I know.
These kids,
I hate the Yankees.
Yeah. So, Chris, anyway, we loved having you on, man. We really appreciate it. I read something that you guys you got a camp coming up with Darius Miller. Why don't you talk to our listeners a little bit about that and pump your camp a little bit?
It's actually tomorrow's the first day here in Maysville, Kentucky, at the high school here in my hometown of Maysville, Kentucky. It's gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to it, and it's a great time. Hopefully I'll start back doing a camp in Knoxville again, and hopefully we'll get that up and running probably next year or next 2 years. And just, it's always fun being around the kids and seeing them have fun and smiling and happy, and at the same time learning, me teaching the game.
Nice. Well, when you after you guys win the $1 million, we want you to come back on the show and talk to us a little bit about the tournament and how it goes. So you still come talk to us after you get the $1 million?
Of course. I got you. Never, always.
All right, man. We really appreciate you, Chris. Like I said, I've always been a big fan. Loved watching you play, and I've been cheering for you even when you've been overseas. And I hope you guys have a great time playing in the tournament.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Chris.
Come back and see us, all right?
For sure.
That was Chris Lofton, a great guy and a great basketball player. I mean, I got to say, I've never been a Tennessee basketball fan. Sorry. I mean, maybe when Bernard King was there because he's a New Yorker and Ernie and Bernie show, but mostly, I'm a Northeast guy. But
Well, let's
nice
talk
guy.
a little bit about it, man. 3-time first team All SEC, SEC Player of the Year when they had that great Florida team going that won back-to-back titles. He was the SEC Player of the Year. We watched it when we were talking to him. He hit big shots in big moments. We didn't get into it with Chris, but he had a little bit of a health situation his senior year. He didn't tell anybody except for his coach, Bruce Pearl, and he went out and played his butt off. And obviously, it affected him. It has to. He's a human being, but he still went out there and played as hard as he could and gave his all for his university, and just loves the game of basketball. And that's why I think he's had so much success for so long.
And a free throw shooter that shot at 84%. That's what you want out of your point guard.
Well, he was a two guard, but
two guard, I don't care. That's what you want out of your guard.
Yeah, I never saw Chris turn a shot down. So him and old Ben Simmons were very different basketball players.
Yeah.
Ben's turning down layups in crunch time, and Chris Lofton was hitting shots with Kevin Durant in his face.
I got a new nickname for Ben Simmons. Shade. When the lights get hot, he goes for the shade.
Yeah, as Chris alluded to, he does have some good parts of his game.
But it's unfortunate. And you're more the NBA guy than me. But unfortunately, defense. It's like you talk to me about other things in other sports. Defense, to the people who love the sport and really watch the sport, defense means something. To the general public and what's going to be talked about, no one talks about defense. You know what I mean?
I understand that, and no one talks about it in football either. But look who won the Super Bowl. It wasn't the Chiefs who had the best offense. It was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers who had the best defense and had pass rushers and had a great secondary and had the best linebacking core in all of football. That's who won the big tomato, buddy. It wasn't Patrick Mahomes back there slinging the ball. He looked like he was running for his life as people were going after him all day long.
Football is team defense. Football is team defense. In the NBA, you can be the best defender in the world, and you hold Trae Young to 4 for 22. But the rest of you guys aren't playing defense. It doesn't matter what you did. But when you don't score and you're the point guard and you're giving up shots, man, people are going to notice you because the ball's in your hands. Is like, you were open, dude. Why aren't you putting it up?
Hey, no, and he's getting criticized, and he should. He makes $20 million a year. So you know what? If I made $20 million a year, I'm sure people would criticize what I was doing. But saying all that, other guys could have done things too, and you can't just lay it all on one guy. If we go back 2 games when they were up, or a couple games when they were up 2-1, and Joel Embiid had a wide open layup himself, which he missed, and then they ended up losing by a couple points. Who's to say they don't go up 3-1 and win right away?
But did he take it?
He did take it, and he missed it. And then Ben Simmons got the rebound, and he missed it too. But my point is, it wasn't just him missing shots.
No, not when you can't say. It's just like they tried to. You saw what happened when KD tried to do it all himself. Usually, it doesn't work out well.
Yeah,
I mean,
which makes what he did all the more amazing. I mean, everyone knew he was taking that shot at the end of regulation. Everyone knew that Kevin Durant was going to get the ball. Everyone knew that he was going to take the shot, and the fact that he knocked that shot down. And this is coming from a guy who's not a big Durant fan. I like Chris Lofton and him hitting daggers over his face. So I'm not a big Kevin Durant fan, but the fact that he hit that shot and the fact that he stepped up and played every minute in every game down the stretch, I have to give him his credit because he's due that credit. He stepped up big time. A lot of people didn't think, including myself, that he would be the same player coming back from that major Achilles tear. I mean, he missed a whole season, and apparently he was in the gym shooting. Maybe he should take Ben with him.
But the biggest play of the playoffs so far by Giannis was leaving his foot on the floor so Kyrie could land on it. Take that away. And
you
we're
know what,
talking about the Nets.
Giannis got it done too, and I know Middleton didn't have his best game in Game 7, but Middleton played 52 minutes.
Yeah,
and he did hit a big three down the stretch. And Chris Middleton's also from Charleston, which is my home away from home. So I love Chris Middleton, and I hope win. Although I was more about the Nets losing than the Bucks winning. But with the Sixers out, I'm going for the Bucks here on out.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see the Bucks. I'd like to see the Bucks win more than anything else because Milwaukee is such an outpost in the NBA. For years, it was the place you got sent when good teams didn't want you. I mean, they had their good. I mean, I remember back when they won the championship. So I remember back that far. I was
Big O.
Yeah, the Big O and Kareem. So, I mean, that team was great. I mean, and I remember when they had guys like Bob Love and Paul Pressey, and, they had a bunch of good players that went up there, but eventually had to get out of town because no one knew they were up there. I mean, even their families didn't know where to send their Christmas presents because no one knew where Milwaukee was.
Hey,
and
you know what, though? We got to give them credit because they stepped up and they paid Giannis. And not only did they pay him, but Giannis stayed. So you got to give Giannis credit. He could have gone anywhere he wanted to go.
I like the fact that, first of all, I like the fact that Giannis is loyal to his first team, A. And I like the fact that they both took care of business early. Because I would not want to hear for the next 6 years how Giannis is going to be a Knick. I mean, it just annoys the hell out of me. The New York, I've said this to you so many times. New York, how could we get everybody else a superstar to come here and play for our team? Why don't we develop our own?
Yeah.
And I like when a guy sticks with the team that brought him into the end. That's why I am rooting so hard for your boy Zion down in New Orleans for New Orleans to get behind him. First of all, like we talked about last week, get him in on who he wants to coach him. And then bring some players in around him.
Well, and how about hire a coach and let him have more than one season to see how he's doing? Because you're never going to have success if you bring a coach in, you let him coach for a few months, and then you discard him. You have to give someone a chance to develop some chemistry with the guys and develop a coaching philosophy that works with this team. And this is going to be his third coach in 3 years. That's not a recipe for success.
Well, I totally agree with you. But the only thing is, I think one had to do with the other. I mean, they made a mistake letting Alvin Gentry go. Yeah. And they even made a mistake picking Van Gundy as his replacement. I mean, they should either kept Gentry or make sure they get the right coach to come in there and stay. I mean, it was kind of like mistake 1 and 2 melded together. Both were terrible. I mean, especially when you got a Billy Donovan rolling around, you had a Thibodeau rolling around. You had some good coaches out there that you could have gotten to come in there and establish themselves. So,
there was coaches available. There was good coaches available.
McMillan.
Yeah, McMillan was available. People are forgetting that Nate McMillan wasn't even the coach when the season began.
Yeah,
for the Hawks, and the Hawks were not doing very well. And then they fired their coach and brought Nate McMillan and inserted him as the head coach. And now they're in the Eastern Conference Finals. So a coach can make a big difference. If you remember back, Doug Collins couldn't necessarily get it done for the Bulls. I like Doug Collins, no problem with him. But it wasn't working. And they made the change and put a guy in who I know you don't like, but it did work. And so you've got to find the right guy and you've got to give him a chance. So
I'm a conspiracy theorist. I still think he stabbed Doug Collins in the back to get the job. But the one thing I will say, and I was thinking about this today, and I wanted to talk to you because, like I said, you're more the NBA guy than me. Watching Steve Nash, I don't think he did a bad job per se. How can you say he did a bad job when he had his team, in the playoffs and ready to go and without injuries? they probably would be moving on. And but he was given a good hand. I think what he needs to do is, and nothing against D'Antoni. D'Antoni's trying to get his another head coaching job, and will probably move on. But he needs to get his Tex Winter if he wants to be successful. Let's face facts about Phil Jackson. Phil Jackson was not an X's and O's guy. Phil Jackson was a people manager, and Tex Winter was the X's and O guy for that team. So I think Steve Nash, to get to the next level, the things I saw with him is his hesitation in using his timeouts, things like that he needs to improve on. And he needs to get one of these wise old gentlemen. I mean, the guy that came to mind for me is to see if he could tempt PJ Carlissimo to come back out of the TV booth and be that whisper in your ear going, you should call a timeout now, or drop a better play, or do this, and be that guy. Because, I mean, PJ, not a great head coaching career in the pros, but he was on Popovich's staff for a couple of championships. Something must have worn off on him there. You know, he's been on a couple of winning staffs. So
I could be on the staff, get rid of Kyrie. That would probably be good. Because you know what? We all knew Kyrie wasn't going to be there in crunch time. And don't get me wrong, he's a pretty good basketball player, but he's always hurt. Always. The guy played 11 games at Duke, and he hasn't played a full season more than once in his entire career, I don't believe. And, check my stats on that. But he hasn't played very many full entire seasons since he's been in the NBA. He's always hurt, and he's a guy that disappears. There was several times this year where the Nets didn't know where he was.
Well,
And,
he's got a freaky nature to him. I mean, the thing about it, I was looking the other day because I was going to bring this up to you when they had the All-NBA teams come out, and LeBron didn't make the first team for the first time, I think, in his career. A few other things. And Kyrie was on that, and I was like, Kyrie, because to me, it seemed when I looked at his stats, he played a lot more games than I remember him playing.
No, he did. He didn't get it hurt as much this year, but at the same time, he disappeared for a week or two at a time.
He's got a Dennis Rodman to his nature, to him, to some freakiness. You don't know what you're going to get with him, you know.
He doesn't like people telling him what to do, which I understand. But if you want to win a championship, you got to let some of that go. And that's why, you know, besides the year he was with LeBron, he hasn't won any other championships. And that's why, you know, he hasn't had success in the playoffs. And I do, just to go back to your point, I have to admit, you know, I wasn't really impressed with the hire of Steve Nash. And I just thought, you know, like you said, he'd never been a coach before. And I thought that might, make a difference. And it did at times, but I'm not going to criticize him, because if they did have, Kyrie, if they did have James Harden with two legs, they'd be in the Eastern Conference Finals right now. And there's no doubt about that. So I have to give him credit for the job he did. I was impressed overall, and I'm not going to be critical of him for them losing in overtime by 2 points.
Yeah. But on the flip side of that coin, maybe a better coach figures out some way to squeeze out that last victory. You know what I mean? Maybe a guy more prepared figures that out. And, you know, and I don't know. I was watching him, like I said, from beginning to end. I can't say there was any glaring mistakes. I mean, I don't know who knows what defenses were being called, what offenses were being called. We all love to think we know what they are.
Well, let's just be honest. The coach in Detroit got nothing out of Blake Griffin. He was a disappointment. They paid him money to leave the team, and Steve Nash had him playing back at a pretty damn good level. To the point where he had, several games where he had 18 points and 12 rebounds. I mean, 2 or 3 games out of the 7, he was scoring double-doubles and making a big impact. So you have to give him credit for things that he did if you want to criticize him for other things.
Yeah, sure. So, well, he's going to be coming back in next year anyway. But like I said, if I was him, I'd look around. I know D'Antoni was one of his old coaches, I believe. I would go get myself somebody who's an X's and O's guy that's very strong, that can be that bench guy and that guy in my ear to make sure I'm doing the things I have to do to get my team over the hump. So, because the window closes next year for the Nets.
Yeah,
they're only together for one more year.
Yeah,
so they got to get things done next year, or they're going to be looked at as a failure. And that's the way we look at it. They were assembled. The three stars were assembled to win championships. LeBron was able to pull that off in Miami. He was able to pull it off in LA with AD last year. You assemble those superstars together. I mean, Kawhi and Paul George. If they don't get it done this year, going to be a lot of people pointing fingers at them, going, "No, you're not the super team that we thought you were." So,
no, we said that at the beginning of the year, and that's why we thought Steve might have trouble, because we said if they don't win the championship, it's a failure. I'm not so sure it was a failure of a season, to be honest with you. I thought he actually did a pretty good coaching job, considering the big three played together 9 times. If you take that into account, I thought he did a pretty damn good job.
Well, I think I'll tell you the one that impressed me the most is the one I liked the least, and that's James Harden. I think that he got more out of James Harden than most coaches have ever gotten out of James Harden. James Harden has always been about James Harden, and not that he's not about winning, but he's about winning his way. And I think that he got James Harden to change his game just enough where it could meld with more players.
No, you didn't hear much out of James Harden after he left the Rockets, and that's I think you have to give the coach some credit for that, because he got James focused, and he got James focused on the task at hand, which was winning basketball games. And it's easier said than done. So yeah, I agree with you on that.
All right, great show tonight. Fantastic guest in Chris Lofton coming in. Can't wait to have him back again. Like we said, the NBA playoffs are going on now. NHL, the Islanders tied it up 2-2. I think we are playing tonight, so I got to watch that. And we keep rolling forward.
Yeah, and before we go, just a big congrats to John Rahm. Classy guy. A lot of people may forget he was forced to withdraw from the memorial on the final day after having a 6-shot lead after Saturday, and tested positive apparently, and was forced to go home. Came back on his first ever Father's Day with his newborn baby, and went out there and birdied 17 and 18, at Torrey Pines, which those are not easy holes, and won the U.S. Open, becoming the first Spanish player to ever win the U.S. Open in 123 years.
Congratulations, Mr. Rahm, and good luck for the rest of the year. I will see you on Thursday night. Hang in there and enjoy the week. Till then.
All right, we'll see everybody Thursday. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you to Chris Lofton.
You're listening to The Safety and the Sportswriter on Northeast Streaming Sports.